going to put through the Sprox Guide to 14. In this section of the guide, we're going to be looking at your character's stats. As previously talked about combat, well, stats are going to be the other major thing. Gear as well, we will touch briefly on gear, but gearing itself will be saved for the next video, as that's a huge topic in and of itself. So, without further ado, let's just get straight. Okay, so if you actually want to look at your character stats, all you have to do, open your character menu. First tab, attributes. Congratulations, you can now see all of your character stats. We're going to be focusing first on the left side of the screen. We'll focus on the right side in a couple minutes. Starting off at the top, HP. This is your health. If this ever hits 0, you die. MP is going to be your mana. If this ever hits 0, you cannot cast your spells. Every class in the game has 10,000 MP no matter what, so keep that in mind. Past that, your stats are split into a ton of categories. Pretty simple. Attributes are going to be your primary stats. You cannot get these outside of just increasing the power of your gear. Higher level your gear is, the higher these stats are going to be. Offensive and defensive properties, pretty self-explanatory. Physical and mental. Physical is pretty much just your physical properties that affect your damage. Mental, same thing. Roll is just roll specific stats. A gear is just your item level, in case you couldn't see that in the million other menus it's in. Starting off with attributes though, strength is going to be the main stat for the melee classes in the game. Minus ninja, ninja skills with dexterity, and do the ranged physical. These stats here are going to pretty much determine how strong your physical attacks are going to be. So if you're playing a melee, you're going to have high strength. If you're playing a ranged physical or a ninja, you're going to have high dexterity. Vitality is pretty much going to be your maximum HP. The higher this number is, the more health you have. Tanks get a bigger benefit from this, so I was about to swap to tank, but then I realized due to the item level difference, but tank actually has less health than a machinist, so yeah, we're not going to do that. That's just easy. Intelligence is going to be your potency of your offensive skills, and mind is going to be the potency of your healing. You'll notice the different colors here, they don't really mean anything. If you really want to look into it, green is going to be your physical stats and pink is going to be your magic stats, but that's looking way too far into it. Moving on, we're going to look at defense properties. This is a separate category. The higher your defense, the less physical damage you take. The higher your magic defense, the less magic attack you take. Offensive properties, you have 3 here. Critical hit is a double duty skill, or not skill, stat. I can English. Anyways, what it does is it not only boosts the power of crits, but also how likely you are to crit. So this stat is insanely powerful. As you can see, it's higher than the rest for a good reason. This stat is probably the most powerful stat in the game. It's been the most powerful stat in the game for a very long time. And unless something major changes in Endwalker, it's going to continue being probably the most powerful stat in the game. In case you do not understand me now, crit is very, very strong. You're going to want as much crit as you fucking get. Past that determination, flat potency increase, just the higher this is, the stronger you're going to be overall. Direct hit rate is going to affect the chance of getting a direct hit. Basically, direct hits are a small potency boost to your attack. Crits are a larger potency boost, and yes, crits and direct hits do stack. You can get a direct crit. I don't know what people call it. I'm calling them direct hits, but yeah, you can land a direct hit and a critical hit within the same attack. That said, though, this stat, direct hit, usually isn't as strong as crit, as, like I said, it only affects the rate, and on some classes that can guarantee direct hits, not the greatest. Like Machinist has a bit of a low direct hit rate just because Reassemble allows you to just guarantee an attack as a direct hit. So, yeah. Past that, attack power, if you're looking at physical properties. If you'll notice, Machinist, skills with dexterity because it's a ranged DPS. Attack power is the same point, it's the same stat. So, yeah, your attack power is literally going to be the exact same as your main stat. If I go over to Samurai, my strength and attack power the exact same because Samurai gives off strength. Skill speed is basically how fast your GCD is. The higher this number is, the faster your GCD. If I go back to Samurai, high number, fast GCD. Looking at machinist, slow GCD, low number. Looking at your mental properties, attack magic potency, scales with intelligence. Healing magic potency, scales with mind. Do note though that for attack magic potency, this actually boosts the healing for red mage and blue mage. So keep that in mind. If you want to heal more effectively as either of those, go for intelligence, not mind. Spell speed, exact same thing as spell speed, except it expects spells, not physical. As I said before, average item level. Yeah, you can see this everywhere. This is effectively the level of your gear, or the average level of all your gear. Roll stats only apply to single roll. Tenacity only applies to tanks. Piety only applies to healing. Tenacity basically just makes you a better tank. You deal more damage, you take less damage, and you receive more healing. Unfortunately, due to how powerful the other stats are, Tenacity is basically your last resort stat if you just run out of stuff to melt. Piety it's interesting. There's a lot of debate over how good Piety is, but basically, the higher your Piety, the faster your MP build regen. Do note though that, as I said before, this is healer only, so if you're playing a caster DPS, you can't really use Piety, so sorry about that. Moving on from stats, we're going to quickly look at gear. As I said before, this is not a gearing video. Gearing video will be the next video, so keep an eye on that. Looking at gear though, you effectively can divide this into three major categories. Weapons, your main hand and offhand, armor, and accessories. For all intents and purposes, armor and accessories are effectively the same thing. Accessories just don't have the same defense. But looking at weapons, the only class that's going to have an offhand in combat is going to be Paladin. These are all crafting tools. Crafters and gatherers all have offhand tools. So, yeah, they're going to have offhand, but they ain't combat. So, most classes in the game are only going to have a main hand. Now, some of you might be like, well, my white mage or black mage has a shield in the offhand. I hate to break it to you, that's an A Realm Reborn thing. The highest level shield a caster can use in this game is 52, so you're not going to be using that. Not to mention all the high level weapons for those classes don't even allow you to use an offhand, so unless you want to absolutely murder your stats and make it very difficult, if not just flat out impossible to do high-end content, you're not using a shield at level 50, so sorry about that. But looking at your weapon, you're gonna notice three major stats: physical damage, auto attack, and delay. If you're playing a caster, that physical damage will instead be magic damage. Looking at it though, physical damage is basically the same thing as, say, strength to dexterity. It's pretty much just how strong you are. The higher that number is, the harder you're gonna hit. That will only go up with the item level, so keep that in mind. Auto attack is how strong your auto attacks are going to be, and delay is how often you auto attack. Do note that to auto attack, unless you're playing a ranged DPS, you have to be within melee range. Yes, this counts for casters. Your auto attack is just bitch slapping stuff with your weapon. So if you really want to min-max as a caster, get within melee range. Otherwise, whatever. Past that, you'll see on this weapon I have 5, but this weapon's weird. If you look at other stuff, there's only about 4 stats. 4 stats is much more common. You'll notice though, as I scroll through those, everything has dexterity and vitality. Yeah, when we get talking about materia, there's no materia for your attribute. Attributes will only increase with your currently equipped gear. All gear in the game will have your class's main attribute as well as vitality. So since I'm playing machinist, all my gear has dexterity on it. And obviously, as I said before, vitality. Looking at armor, you'll notice that instead of these offensive properties, we get defensive ones. This is how you boost your defense and magic defense, just here. Similar to attack, physical damage, and all that, this will only scale with item level. So pretty much all things at 530 are going to have the same defense and magic. Stat-wise, exact same. Accessories, effectively the same thing as armor, just lower defense and magic defense. This is pretty much going to max out at 1. There might be a handful of pieces in the game that can go to 2. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I feel like I've seen some. And then beyond that, Soul Crystal, this just determines if you're playing a class or a job. So, yeah, always have this equipped. All the expansion jobs automatically have one equipped, so Yeah, always have that. I don't think we're going to be discussing in this video Materia. As I was scrolling through, you might have noticed there's some funky looking little circles down there under my stats, aren't there? Well, that's Materia. I'm going to hop over to my board to explain this. Look at my boards, you will see those slots look different. They're empty. Well, you can, if you go into your actions and traits, under general, you can actually meld Materia. We're not going to talk about Materia, we're going to talk about Materia melding. Or if you don't have high enough level crafters, you do need to level your crafters to be able to meld your own Materia. All vendors in all the major cities in the game will meld for you. So, we're just going to open that up really quick, close up the other stuff, and take a look at my gear. It will show you once again all of the slots available on my current equipped gear. Selecting one will show me the stats of that gear. The left number is going to be the current stat, and the right number is going to be the maximum. You cannot go over this maximum, so I cannot meld more determination on these hands because it's max. That said, I can put a little bit of crit, I can put a little bit of crit, I can go all in on crit. Do know as well, Materia, to get Materia, you will be turning in clusters. For Shadowbringers, these were turned into stellar clusters, planet clusters, but looking at other stuff, if I still have some in, nope, it's in my routine. Okay, I was going to show you pretty much those clusters that you can exchange near the Materia vendors, just flat out for the Materia. There's effectively two types of Materia. You got your even numbered Materia and your odd numbered Materia. Your even numbered Materia is going to be the strong stuff. That's going to be the really high potency shit. The odd numbered is going to be lower potency, but it can be overmelded. Now, what is overmelding? Overmelding is only applicable to crafted, because as you can see, my crafted accessories only have one Materia. However, because they're crafted, you can overmeld. Overmelding is where you slot more Materia into an item than it has slots for. You can only, and I mean this quite literally, you can only overmeld crafted gear. Tome gear, raid gear, none of that can be overmelded. You can only overmeld crafted gear. One thing I didn't show off is that when you go to meld, your rates for melding are all 100% for these slots. You will not fail. However, when you overmeld, there is a chance of failure. And the more you overmeld, the lower that chance of failure is. That overmeld slot is a 2% chance to succeed. So it's hyper expensive, and as crafted gear is usually not as strong as raid gear, most combat classes will not be overmelding. That said, crafters and gatherers, if you want to min-max, yeah, get ready to machine gun your Materia, because crafted gear for you is the best you can get. So yeah, hopefully that was a good explanation. It's really hard to show it off, but I don't actually have proper Materia for you guys, so hopefully that made some sense. If not, I can do a separate follow-up video to this to just kind of explain it a bit more in depth. And with that, you should hopefully now have an understanding of stats and Materia. I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, a like would be appreciated. And if you want to see more videos like this, remember to subscribe. As I said before, the video coming out is going to be talking about gearing. Once we get done with that, we can finally go into the really fun stuff, talking about game mechanics, all the different vendors and all that. So, yep, me. We're almost through the road page. So, yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and see you in the next one.